Welcome, 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 foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion.
As early as 1958, there's an article attributed to Walt Disney. It was called My Newest Dream, where he talks about everything coming up at the parks. And then he's saying that a haunted house would be coming in where guests to the park could walk through the haunted rooms and gardens of this spooky house that they brought there.
We're going to bring ghosts from all over the world. And we're making it very attractive to them, hoping, they'll want to come and stay at Disneyland. So we're putting in wall-to-wall cobwebs, and we guarantee them creaking doors and creaking floors.
Walt Disney approached Ken Anderson about designing the haunted house as a walk-through attraction. Ken did a complete layout blueprint for the attraction at that time, which would include scenes from Disney films like the ghosts that appear in Fantasia and Night on Bald Mountain, the Lonesome Ghosts from the Mickey Mouse short, and the Headless Horseman from The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Construction actually began on the Haunted Mansion long before it opened, and that's part of the great mystique of this attraction. And this led to just endless rumors about what was inside, what had happened, why did the attraction not open for 6 years. Everybody has friends and relatives who say they know somebody who went on the ride, and it's not the ride that was there now. It was so scary, it was people were having heart attacks. There was a story of a guest falling into a snake pit.
One of the rumors was that Walt Disney really lives there. That's a second home. And that they just said it was a haunted mansion because they didn't want people to go there and bother Walt Disney.
But then Walt went to England, and the reporters asked him what he was doing there, and he said, well, I'm visiting some of the old castles and mansions and looking for ghosts who want to continue to practice their tricks.
If you were a kid back then, you went through your whole kidhood waiting for this thing to open.
The house was built in the early 60s and stood there all alone on the banks of the river with a sign on it that said, we're out collecting 999 ghosts. So as a kid growing up in that time period, there was the dutiful trek over to the gates and standing at the gates, reading that sign and wondering what's going to happen here.
In comes the 1964 New York World's Fair, which developed tremendous new technologies. And one of the technologies became the impetus for a ride system called the Omnimover. It's the ride system that never stops. It's a constant chain of ride vehicles all tied together, just going around in a continuous circle. And the designers in the Haunted Mansion realized this is our answer, because not only can we get a tremendous number of people through, we can surprise them. We can face them this way and then spin them suddenly to the left and reveal something exciting. The Omnimover also has the advantage of it's got speakers right inside the car with you. So you have a creepy voice right behind you narrating the whole adventure.
Pirates of the Caribbean had Claude Coates and Mark Davis as collaborators, and after Pirates, the two went on to work on Haunted Mansion. But in this case, they each had a different idea about what the tone of the attraction should be. Claude Coates felt that it should be scary and frightening, and Mark Davis felt that it was Disney and should be more gag and humorous. And in the end, they sort of each got their day, because the first half of the ride really is Claude Coates's, if you will, and it's all the environmental, more scary parts of it. And then the second half of the ride from the ballroom on is really more Mark Davis, particularly the graveyard, where it's lots of gags, lots of funny things. And so in some ways, it really satisfies both camps, because for those who want the sort of eerie, scary, you've got that. For those who want the classic Disney funny, you've got that. And in the end, I think it's important to realize that, Walt was creating a park for parents and children to have fun together.
Mark Davis is the master in charge of our House of Illusions, or what do we call it? A Haunted Mansion. Can you give me a little idea what we're going to have in there?
Yes, well, we're doing a lot of portraits that change right in front of your very eyes. As a matter of fact, one of our paintings here is based on Greek mythology. This is Medusa. She offended the goddess Athena, and as a result, Athena turned her into a gorgon.
Tell her about this thing here, will you, Mark?
Well, this is our elongating, stretching room.
And in this one, when the room gets longer, you get full-size portrait.
Oh dear.
We didn't know it, but the ride was never going to be in the building. The building is just an elevator that descends down under the park and then lets you walk out into area beyond the confines of the Disneyland park out in the back acreage. So these were wonderful illusions that Walt created, having a relatively modest part of the attraction inside where the guests see it. And then as you enter it, it becomes far bigger than could ever be contained in the rather modest house on the inside.